Buttonholes on the Bernina are fabulous. You'll find a whole menu of them. Plus, when you select them and you have a question, you can always see which fabrics each buttonhole was designed to be made on. So you can go through and notice that there are some that are skinnier, some that are going to be for knit fabrics, some that are for fabrics that can't be perforated by all those stitches let's see here, the right term, more for stitches on like suede or leather. There's even a beautiful hand look buttonhole. It actually kind of looks like a blanket stitch all the way down there. So whenever you pick a buttonhole, first thing you want to do is just go right over to the eye for information, because this is where you can set the length for what you're doing. The easiest one is just to go ahead and go over to where you can measure the length of your button. So we'll go ahead and put that on, or select it. Take your button and hold it directly onto the screen, and then use the knobs on the side right over here, or to go ahead and increase that circle to match the size of button that you're doing. So you'll notice that it's 17 millimeters from edge to edge. It's going to make a 19 millimeter length, and that adds the extra millimeter for each of the tacks on either end of the buttonhole. So when we just go ahead and X out of that, we'll notice that our length is set right here as auto. We are recommended to put our foot 3A on, and the tension has already been reduced for us. So the 2.5 is going to allow for that satin stitch to really pull to the back side, make it look really pretty. So I'm going to sew through a couple buttonholes for you, and then I'm also going to show you a corded buttonhole. And in another video, we'll do a manual buttonhole where you can control the lengths or do something longer than the automatic 3A foot will allow you to do. So if you needed a buttonhole that was like this big, check out the manual buttonhole video. I always come in from the right side, because then that way I get I can hook it up and then even connect it all with a single hand. Now this thread, if it's over the top of your foot, you can wait till you finish a buttonhole, and then it will drop down through the groove. You could poke it down, or sometimes I've even been known to do this, come up, slide it down, and then reattach the foot. You could also take a stitch and bring it down. So what if this bothers you that it's above, do something to go ahead and get it underneath. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and stitch this first buttonhole. It's pre-programmed to the length. So it's going to start with a satin stitch down on the, let's see here, it'll be the left-hand side. It'll come back up the middle, tack at the top, and then travel down the right-hand side. And that makes the prettiest buttonhole because both those satin stitches are actually going the same direction. It's going to go ahead and lock it, and then you can go ahead and use the scissors to cut it. Now once this foot comes up, it snaps back to the beginning. So make sure you don't lift it up in the middle of a buttonhole incorrectly. So here's your perfect buttonhole. Love the fact that it pulls everything to the back side, so that top edge is nice. Let me go ahead and do a keyhole buttonhole. If you want to just mark your fabric, like you were marking how long you want it to be, and you've marked one line and two lines, you can actually do this another way. You can go ahead and just start to stitch. And it's recording the length that it's going to do. Now on a keyhole buttonhole, it just does straight stitches. And you could even move this to be where you want it to stitch to. So if I want it to go there, I'll stitch into those two red lines are matched up. Then I'll stop, touch the reverse button one time, and then go ahead and let the whole entire buttonhole stitch out. Now once this completes, the length will be remembered and can be repeated multiple times. So when you need, 100 buttonholes, they'll all be the same length. It is really nice to have that option there. So we'll go ahead and cut it and check out what a keyhole buttonhole is. And that's going to be for like a shanked button, like on a coat, where that shank will sit here and actually have a place for it to do. Let me just do one more. I mean, there's so many different styles. Do take a little time to stitch them out. We'll just do, this is more of like for a knit fabric. It's a little bit more open. And I'll just do a nice short one here. There you go. How perfect is that? Great. Okay, so let's talk about how we do a corded buttonhole. So I'm going to actually take the foot off to show you what's going on behind the foot. There's a part back here that I can hook cording over, and it will actually allow me to bring the cord up the middle. There we go. Actually, I'm going to put it back on because for me it's easier to kind of go behind the machine and bring it up in front. Now when you come up front, there's this kind of two little grooves here, and you just hook the cord right there. And see how they just keep the cord perfectly parallel? When you have fabric that wants to maybe be a little stretchy, or you just want the buttonhole to look a little bit crisper, I'm going to go ahead and show you. Now I went back to this first buttonhole we did, this one here, and the length is still remembered. So we're just going to go ahead, I'm going to lower the presser foot down and sew. So I don't even really have to do anything. And the satin stitch is going to perfectly cover that cord. Now since I took the foot off, I'm going to just trim this little thread out of the way, then I don't catch it on anything. The cool thing is that the cord is never stitched like through, it's always stitched over. So it's actually loose inside here. So watch what we're going to do after we get this done. So we're going ahead and cut, have it lifted up for us. Okay, we'll kind of undo the cord from the front of the foot. Slip it off the back if it's still kind of hanging up back there. Now with a corded buttonhole, what you end up doing is just taking a hold of one of the cords and pulling. Now when you do so, you're just going to pull all the way down so that little loop hides away. And then I usually just trim really close. Some people will actually take and thread those down to the back side of the fabric. I usually just clip them and then kind of maneuver them underneath my stitches. So see how that buttonhole looks denser than the first one, and that's because it has more of a raised look. It's very, very solid, and it looks awesome. So that is what they mean when they talk about a corded buttonhole. And you can do that for a variety of the satin stitch ones that are on your screen. So again, if you need to do a manual buttonhole, we've got a video for that. And otherwise, give your buttonholes a try and see how pretty they look.